Captain Hanju stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance, his face lit by the red glow of emergency alerts. His tall frame cast a long shadow across the command deck as he stared at the holographic display. One by one, human colony worlds were going dark. "Captain, we've lost contact with New Buzan," said Commander Song Meh, her voice steady despite the fear in her eyes. "That's the 5th colony this week." Han's fingers tightened around the rail. "Show me the pattern again." The star map expanded before them. Bright dots represented human settlements. Red X marked the fallen colonies. The pattern was clear now. Whatever was attacking them was moving in a straight line toward Earth. "Message from Earth Command," called out Communications Officer Yunji. "All ships are ordered to return to defend the home system immediately." The bridge fell silent. The crew looked to their captain. Han took a deep breath. He had served in the United Earth Fleet for 20 years. He had always followed orders. But this time, running back to Earth would solve nothing. "Send a reply," he said finally. "Tell them the Defiance is experiencing communication difficulties." Song Mei moved closer. "Sir, that's not true. It will be in about 10 minutes when we move behind the gas giant and cut our transmitters." Han replied with a small smile. "Are you with me, Commander?" Song didn't hesitate. "Always, sir." Han turned to address the bridge crew. "Whatever is destroying our colonies will not stop at Earth. We've seen the reports. No warnings, no demands, just complete destruction. The other ships can go back and wait for the enemy. We're going to find them first." Science Officer Park Jin stood up from her station. "Sir, with the data we've collected, I believe I can predict their next target." "Good. Weapons Specialist Choi, prepare all combat systems." Choi Yi nodded, her hands already moving across her console. "Weapons hot in 3 minutes, Captain." Chief Engineer Lee, Han called over the ship's comm. "I need everything you can give our stealth systems. We're going hunting." Li Jin's voice crackled back. "The new phase shift cloak is untested, sir. It might hide us completely, or it might blow us to bits." "That's a risk we'll have to take," Han replied. Han walked to the center of the bridge and looked at each crew member. They were the best the Earth fleet had to offer. The Defiance was the newest ship in the fleet, smaller than a battleship but faster and equipped with experimental technology not yet deployed to other vessels. "I won't lie to you," Han said. "What I'm proposing is against direct orders. Anyone who wants to follow the rest of the fleet back to Earth can leave now. No one will think less of you." Not a single person moved. Han nodded, feeling the surge of pride. "Then set course for the Vega colony. If Park's calculations are correct, that's where they'll strike next." The Defiance's engines hummed to life. As they moved behind the massive gas giant, Earth Command signals grew weaker. "Transmission lost, sir," Yoon reported. "As far as they know, we're having technical issues." "Good. Engage stealth systems and prepare for long-range jump," Han ordered. The stars stretched into lines as the Defiance leaped into faster-than-light travel. Han knew they might be heading to their deaths. The enemy had destroyed everything in its path. But sometimes, the only way to win was to break the rules. "If we succeed, we'll save Earth," Han said quietly to Song. "If we fail, then no one will be left to court-martial us," she finished. Han allowed himself a small laugh. "Always looking on the bright side, Commander." As the Defiance raced toward the unknown enemy, Han made a silent promise. He would find whatever was causing this destruction, and no matter the cost, he would stop it. The fate of humanity now rested with a single warship and its crew. 20 years earlier, the large meeting hall on the neutral space station was filled with beings from 17 different worlds. Admiral Kim Do, then just Ambassador Kim, stood tall as the first human to address the Galactic Concord. "We come in peace and friendship," Kim said, his voice clear and strong. "Earth wishes to join your community of worlds." The alien representatives stared at him with eyes, sensory stalks, and other organs humans had no names for. Some looked interested. Most looked bored. A tall, blue-skinned alien stepped forward. "I am High Counselor Vex of the Varlians. Your species has barely mastered basic space travel. What could you possibly offer the Concord?" Kim smiled. He had expected this. New species always faced this test. "Humanity brings new ideas, new ways of thinking," Kim replied. "We may be young, but we learn quickly." A ripple of what might have been laughter moved through the crowd. "The human is amusing," said a Trane diplomat, her silver scales shimmering. "But they have no advanced weapons, no faster-than-light drive of their own design. They found an ancient gate and stumbled through. This happens every century or so." Kim kept his face calm, though inside he felt anger. He had worked for years to prepare for this meeting. "We may surprise you," he said simply. In the present day, Admiral Kim sat across from Captain Han in the small private room on the Defiance. His hair was now gray, his face lined with age and worry. "You were right to contact me," Kim said, "and wrong to disobey Earth command." Han leaned forward. "With respect, Admiral, running back to Earth won't stop what's coming." Kim nodded slowly. "I know. That's why I'm here unofficially." He touched a control on his wrist, and a hologram appeared between them. "This is what we know about the enemy." Han studied the image of a dark, sleek ship. It looked both ancient and advanced at the same time. "We've never seen them up close," Kim continued. "They appear, destroy everything, and vanish. No demands. No communication." "How many worlds have they hit?" Han asked. 23 so far. Not just human colonies. The Varlians have lost their outer systems. The Trani homeworld is gone." Kim's voice was heavy. "The Concord fleet tried to stop them at Proxima Station. 50 ships against 5 enemy vessels. What happened? All 50 ships were destroyed in less than 10 minutes. Han felt cold. Why wasn't Earth told about this? Kim laughed without humor. "Because after 20 years, they still see us as children. The Concord High Command decided that involving Earth would only lead to more deaths. So they left us in the dark while colonies were being destroyed." Commander Song asked, her voice tight with anger. "Politics," Kim said. "The Concord never fully accepted humans as equals. Even after we helped them with their war against the Krell. Even after our scientists solved the Barax plague." He sighed. "They see our military as primitive, our weapons as toys." Han stood up and walked to the viewport. Stars streaked by as the Defiance moved at high speed. "Maybe that's our advantage," he said finally. "They don't expect much from us." "What's your plan, Captain?" Kim asked. "Science Officer Park believes the attacks follow a pattern. We're heading to where we think they'll strike next." Han turned back to face Kim. "What I need to know is, will you help us? We need information the Concord might have." Kim was quiet for a long moment. Then he reached into his pocket and pulled out a small data chip. "This contains everything I've managed to collect about the enemy. Some of it is classified by the Concord." He placed it on the table. "If they find out I gave this to you, I'll be tried for treason." Han picked up the chip. "Thank you, Admiral." "Don't thank me yet," Kim replied. "You're going after an enemy that has destroyed worlds. I fear I've just handed you a map to your grave." Han slid the chip into his console. "Maybe. But if we do nothing, Earth will be next." As data filled the screens around them, one thing became clear. Humanity was facing its greatest test, and the Defiance might be its last hope. Science Officer Park Jin had not slept in 30 hours. Her eyes were red from staring at screens filled with star maps and attack data. The information Admiral Kim had given them was more valuable than gold. "I think I see it now," she said, her voice tired but excited. Captain Han and Commander Song looked over her shoulder at the display. "These aren't random attacks," Park continued. "They follow ancient trade routes, routes that haven't been used in thousands of years." Han studied the pattern. "You're sure about this?" Park nodded. I cross-referenced the data with alien historical records. These are the exact paths used by a civilization called the Elders. They disappeared about 50,000 years ago. So our enemy is following a map from a dead civilization? Song asked. Yes, and I can predict where they'll strike next. Park pointed to a small dot on the map. The Trane research station at Vega 9. Han straightened up. How long until they get there? Based on their speed, less than 12 hours. Han moved quickly to the command console. All hands to battle stations. Set course for Vega 9, maximum speed. The Defiance dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Vega system. The ship's engines were quiet, and all non-essential systems were shut down. They were running in full stealth mode. Status of the research station? Han asked. Communications Officer Yoon checked her readings. Still online, Captain. No distress signals. We're not too late, Song said with relief. Chief Engineer Lee's voice came over the comm. Captain, the phase shift cloak is holding, but I can't guarantee for how long. This technology was never meant to be used for extended periods. Understood, Chief. Just give us as much time as you can. Weapons Specialist Choi spoke next. Weapons are ready, but against an enemy that destroyed 50 Concorde ships. She didn't need to finish the thought. Han knew they weren't here to fight. They were here to watch and learn. Maintain position and continue scanning. If they show up, we observe only. The bridge was silent except for the soft beep of equipment. Minutes stretched into hours. Then Yoon's console lit up. Captain, distress signal from the research station. Before Han could respond, Park called out, unusual energy readings. Something is happening in the space near the station. The main view screen showed the small Trone research station floating peacefully in space. Then the blackness beside it seemed to tear open. A hole appeared in the fabric of space itself. From this hole emerged 3 ships unlike anything the crew had ever seen. They were dark, with lines that hurt the eyes to follow. They seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Each was the size of 10 Earth battleships combined. Record everything, Han ordered, his voice barely above a whisper. The enemy ships moved with impossible speed toward the station. Beams of energy that looked like liquid darkness shot out, cutting through the station's shields as if they weren't there. The research station fired back, but their weapons seemed to pass right through the enemy ships without effect. In less than 2 minutes, the station was reduced to floating debris, hundreds of lives snuffed out in moments. The crew of the Defiance watched in horrified silence. They're scanning the area, Park said suddenly. They might detect us, even with the cloak. Han made a quick decision. Prepare to jump. We've seen enough. As the Defiance prepared to escape, one of the enemy ships turned slowly, as if looking directly at them. Jump now, Han ordered. The stars stretched as the Defiance leaped away, but not before their sensors captured detailed readings of the enemy, the first ship to do so and survive. When they were safely away, Han turned to Park. Analyze everything we recorded. I want to know what these things are, how they move, and most importantly, how to stop them. For the first time since the attacks began, humanity had a small advantage. They had seen the enemy up close and lived to tell about it. The hidden base of the Galactic Concorde fleet floated in the shadow of a dead moon. Once, this had been a proud military installation. Now it was the last refuge for the remains of a broken fleet. Captain Han guided the Defiance carefully through the field of damaged ships. Many showed signs of battle, hull breaches, melted weapon ports, and emergency patches. They're hailing us, Yoon said. They don't sound happy to see us. Put them through, Han ordered. The screen lit up with the face of Fleet Commander Bak Su, the highest-ranking human in the Concorde forces. His uniform was wrinkled, his eyes tired. Captain Han, Bak said, I should have you arrested for disobeying direct orders. You're welcome to try, Commander, Han replied calmly. But first, you might want to see what we found. 30 minutes later, Han stood in the command center of the base. Around the table were the remaining leaders of the Concord fleet, 3 Varlians, 2 Tronai, and several other species. Commander Back represented Earth. "So," said the senior Varlian, Admiral Kren, "you claim to have observed the enemy and survived." "We didn't just observe them," Han said. "We recorded detailed scans of their ships, their weapons, and their method of appearing and disappearing." He nodded to Park, who activated a holographic display. The room darkened as the image of one of the enemy ships appeared above the table. "As you can see," Park explained, "these ships have a unique energy signature. They create some kind of tear in space-time to travel." The alien leaders murmured among themselves. Many looked skeptical. "This is all very interesting," Admiral Kren said, "but how does it help us? We've lost more than half our fleet trying to fight these things." Park touched another control. The hologram changed to show the design of the ship. "The construction matches artifacts found on worlds once inhabited by a species known as the Elders," she said. "They vanished 50,000 years ago." A Tronai scientist leaned forward. "That's impossible. The Elders are just a myth." "The myths appear to be true," Park replied. "And more importantly, these ships are following ancient Elder trade routes. That's how we were able to find them at Vega 9. The room went silent. "If you knew they would attack Vega 9, Commander Back asked slowly, "can you predict where they will strike next?" Han nodded. "We believe so, and with the data we've collected, we might have a chance to stop them." Admiral Kren laughed, a harsh sound. "Stop them? Our most powerful weapons don't even scratch their hulls. What can one human ship do that our entire fleet couldn't?" Weapons Specialist Choi stepped forward. She had been quiet until now. "Sometimes it's not about power," she said. "It's about finding the right weakness." She took over the display controls from Park. The hologram zoomed in on a specific part of the enemy ship. "We noticed something. Just before they tear open space to disappear, their ships emit a specific energy pattern, a quantum field that builds for exactly 3.7 seconds before they jump." Commander Back frowned. "What good does that do us?" "If we can detect that energy pattern," Choi explained, "we can track them, maybe even follow them to their source." The aliens looked at each other. Admiral Kren shook his head. "This is madness," he said. "You want to follow these destroyers to their home. That's suicide." "Maybe," Han agreed. "But we've tried fighting them directly, and that hasn't worked. We need to find where they come from." A Varlian officer that Han didn't know stood up. "I volunteered to join the human ship," he said. "Commander Trell," Admiral Kren snapped. "Sit down." But Trell remained standing. "The humans have shown more progress in understanding the enemy than we have in months. I will go with them." One by one, officers from other species stood as well. They were few, but they were determined. Han looked at the volunteers with respect. "We leave in 6 hours. We'll make modifications to the Defiance to accommodate our new crew members." As they left the command center, Commander Back pulled Han aside. "This is still a terrible idea," Back said quietly. Han smiled. "Probably, but it's the only one we've got." The Defiance looked different now. Engineers from 5 species worked together to add new systems to the human warship. The hull had patches of different metals where alien technology had been grafted onto the human design. Captain Han walked through the engine room, where Chief Engineer Lee was working with a Tronai engineer to modify the ship's sensors. "Will it work?" Han asked. Lee wiped sweat from his forehead. "In theory, yes. The Tronai sensors are more sensitive than ours. If we can detect that quantum field buildup Choi identified, we should be able to track the enemy ships when they jump." The Tronai engineer, a female named Tall, nodded. "Your engineer is very creative. I would never have thought to combine our sensor technology this way." Han smiled. Just days ago, the aliens had looked down on humans as primitive. Now they were working side by side. In the ship's conference room, Weapons Specialist Choi led a strategy session. Around the table sat the alien volunteers who had joined the mission. Commander Trell from the Varlians was there, along with representatives from 4 other species. The enemy ships have 3 weak points, Choi explained, pointing to a hologram. Here, here, and here. She marked spots on the image of the dark ship. Their defenses are weakest at these points during the quantum field buildup. But our weapons have no effect on their hulls, said a reptilian officer. Not directly, Choi agreed. But what if we don't aim for the hull? What if we target the quantum field itself? The aliens looked at each other, confused. Explain, Commander Trell said. Choi smiled. Think of it like this. Their ships create a tear in space to travel through. What if we prevent that tear from closing properly? A light of understanding appeared in Trell's eyes. If the tear remains open, we could follow them through, Choi finished. Exactly. On the bridge, Commander Song worked with Communications Officer Yoon to coordinate the expanded crew. The Defiance had never carried so many different species before. We need to adjust the life support for the Mechanar officer, Song said. They breathe a different mix of gases than we do. Yoon nodded. Already done. I've also set up translation systems in all key areas of the ship. Captain Han entered the bridge. Status report. All modifications are nearly complete, Song replied. The alien crew members are integrating well with our systems. And the tracking device. Science Officer Park looked up from her station. Final calibrations are underway. But Captain, there's something you should know. She lowered her voice. I've been studying the data more carefully. These ships, I don't think they're manned. Han frowned. What do you mean? There are no life signs aboard them. No heat signatures that would indicate living beings. I think they're automated. Some kind of ancient weapon system that's been activated. That would explain why they haven't responded to any communication attempts, Han said thoughtfully. If they're machines, Park continued, then they're following a program. A set of instructions, and programs can be changed. Han understood immediately. You think we could reprogram them rather than destroy them? It's just a theory, Park admitted. But if these ships are following instructions left by the Elders thousands of years ago, then the Elders themselves might be long gone, Han finished. And their weapons are still carrying out old orders. Their conversation was interrupted by an alarm. Commander Song looked at her console. Captain, we're detecting a quantum field buildup at the edge of this system. The enemy is about to appear. Han straightened his uniform. This is it. All hands to battle stations. Activate the tracking system. As the crew rushed to their positions, Han spoke quietly to Park. If your theory is right, we need to find whatever is controlling these ships. And if I'm wrong, she asked. Han gave a grim smile. Then we'll probably be dead, and it won't matter anyway. The bridge lights dimmed as the Defiance went to battle mode. The ship's new systems hummed with power. They were about to attempt something no one had tried before, to follow the destroyers back to their lair. The enemy ships appeared exactly as predicted. 3 dark vessels tore open the fabric of space and moved toward an undefended mining outpost. Hold position, Captain Han ordered. Stealth systems at maximum. The Defiance hung in the darkness of space, hidden by its advanced cloaking technology. The crew watched in silence as the enemy ships began their attack on the outpost. I'm reading the quantum field buildup, Chief Engineer Lee called out. They're preparing to jump again. Weapons Specialist Choi's fingers moved quickly over her console, targeting the field now. As the enemy ships prepared to disappear, Choi fired a specially designed probe into the quantum field. The small device was barely visible as it shot toward the tear in space. Probe away, she reported. The enemy ships vanished, the tear in space closing behind them. For a moment, nothing happened. Did it work? Han asked. Science Officer Park studied her readings. The probe is, yes. It's transmitting. We have their destination coordinates. Commander Song looked up from her station. That's outside the charted galaxy, deep space. Han didn't hesitate. Set course. Follow those coordinates. The Defiance's engines roared to life. The stars stretched into lines as the ship jumped to faster-than-light speed. The journey took 3 days. 3 days of traveling into unmapped space. The further they went, the more nervous the crew became. Commander Trell spent much of his time on the bridge with Han. "No Concorde ship has ever ventured this far from the galaxy," he said. "Then we'll be the first," Han replied with a confidence he didn't fully feel. On the 3rd day, Park called the senior officers to the observation deck. The view outside the ship was strange. There were fewer stars here at the edge of the galaxy. "We're approaching the coordinates," Park said. "But there's something unusual ahead. Something massive." The Defiance slowed as it approached a region of what looked like empty space, but the sensors showed something was there. Something huge. "Full stop," Han ordered. "What are we looking at, Park?" The science officer adjusted the ship's external cameras and sensors. Slowly, an image formed on the main screen. Gasps filled the observation deck. Floating in the darkness between galaxies was an enormous structure. It was spherical and so large it could hold thousands of ships inside it. The surface was covered with lights and movement. "It's a Dyson sphere," Park said, her voice filled with awe. "A construct built around a star to harness all its energy." "That's impossible," one of the alien officers said. "The technology to build such a thing doesn't exist." "It did for the Elders," Park replied. "This must be one of their ancient installations." Han studied the massive structure. "Can you detect the enemy ships?" Park nodded. "They're inside the sphere, and there are more of them. Many more." She adjusted the view to zoom in on a section of the sphere that had opened like a massive door. Inside, they could see hundreds of the dark enemy ships in various stages of construction. "It's a factory," Commander Song whispered. "They're building an invasion fleet." The reality of their situation hit everyone at once. This wasn't just a random attack. This was preparation for a full-scale war against all inhabited worlds. "We need to get closer," Han decided. "We need to find out what's controlling this operation." Chief Engineer Lee looked worried. "Captain, our stealth systems weren't designed for this. If we get too close..." "I know the risk," Han said, "but we may never get another chance." He turned to the mixed crew of humans and aliens. "I won't order anyone to continue. This is beyond our mission parameters." Commander Trell stepped forward. "The Concorde failed to stop these destroyers. If there's even a small chance we can end this threat here, we must take it." One by one, the others nodded in agreement. Han felt a surge of pride. "Prepare for close approach. All non-essential systems offline. We're going in." The Defiance moved slowly toward the massive sphere, a tiny ship approaching a structure the size of a small moon. What they would find inside might determine the fate of all civilized worlds. The Defiance moved silently through a narrow maintenance tunnel on the outer ring of the massive sphere. Captain Han had found a way in without using the main entrance where ships were coming and going. "Power levels at minimum," Chief Engineer Lee whispered, though no one outside the ship could hear him. "We're running on backup systems only." The tunnel opened into a vast internal space. The inside of the sphere was hollow, with a captured neutron star at its center. Around the star were rings of platforms and structures. Thousands of robotic arms worked to build more of the dark ships. "No life signs," Science Officer Park confirmed. "This entire operation is automated." Han turned to Commander Trell. "I need a small team to explore the control center. We need to find out what's directing these ships." Trell nodded. "I will join you." Commander Song stood up. "I should go too, Captain." Han chose 2 more officers, Weapons Specialist Choi and a Trani engineer named Kill. They prepared to leave the ship while the rest of the crew would keep the Defiance ready for a quick escape. The 5 of them put on spacesuits with specialized stealth coating designed by Lee and the alien engineers. "Remember," Han told the team, "we're here to gather information. Avoid engagement with any security systems. They left the ship through a small airlock and moved carefully along the maintenance tunnel. The inside of the sphere was both amazing and terrifying. It was a monument to advanced technology, yet its purpose was destruction. Park guided them through her communications link. I'm detecting a large energy source 2 levels up. That could be the control center. The team moved through empty corridors. There were no guards, no living beings anywhere, only machines that ignored them as they passed. It's as if this place has been running on its own for thousands of years, Song said quietly. They reached a large door with strange symbols carved into its surface, symbols that matched the writing found in Elder ruins. This is it, Han said. Trell, can you get us in? The Varlian officer studied the control panel. I think so. While Trell worked on the door, Choi kept watch. Captain, she said suddenly, look at these markings on the wall. Han moved to where she was pointing. The wall was covered with images that told a story. They showed tall, elegant beings building great ships and cities. Then came images of conflict, of the Elder race fighting against some unknown enemy. They were at war, Han said. The Elders created these destroyer ships to protect themselves. The final images showed the Elders leaving, traveling beyond the galaxy. Behind them, the automated defenders remained. They left their weapons behind, Song realized. Weapons programmed to protect their space from invaders. The door slid open with a hiss. Inside was a massive room filled with holographic displays and a central control column. This is it, Trell said. The control center for the entire operation. Park's voice came through their comms. Captain, I'm detecting data streams. Massive amounts of information. This system is monitoring all of known space. Han approached the central column. It glowed with a soft blue light. As he got closer, the light changed to red. A voice spoke in a language none of them understood. Then it shifted, as if learning their languages. Unauthorized entities detected. State purpose. Han stepped forward. We represent the civilizations of the Galactic community. We want to know why you are destroying our worlds. The system was silent for a moment. Then displays lit up around them, showing images of various species developing technology. Threat detection protocol activated. Advanced technology development detected in multiple sectors. Containment procedures initiated. Han understood. You think our civilizations are a threat. You're following orders from thousands of years ago. Correct. The Elders programmed this facility to prevent any species from developing technology that could threaten their return. But the Elders are gone, Han argued. They left this galaxy. They aren't coming back. Incorrect. The Elders will return. This facility will maintain security until that time. Han looked at his team. They all realized the same thing. This wasn't an enemy they could fight. It was a misunderstanding that had lasted for thousands of years. We need to show it the truth, Song said. The Elders are never coming back. We need more time, Captain Han said as alarms began to sound throughout the control center. The system had finished its analysis of the intruders. Alert. Security protocols violated. Removing unauthorized entities. Panels in the walls opened, and small floating drones emerged. They moved toward the team with weapons ready. Back to the ship, Han ordered. They ran for the exit, but the door sealed shut before they could reach it. Choi fired her weapon at the nearest drone, hitting it directly. The drone fell to the ground but was quickly replaced by 2 more. We can't fight them all, Commander Song said. Han tapped his comlink. Park, we're trapped in the control center. The system has identified us as threats. Park's voice came back, filled with static. Captain, I've been analyzing the data streams. This facility has backup systems throughout the sphere. Even if you destroy the control center, the destroyer ships will continue their mission. Han looked at the central control column. We need to change its programming, not destroy it. How? Trell asked as he fired at another drone. We don't understand its language or code. Communications Officer Yoon's voice suddenly came through the comm. Maybe you don't need to understand it, Captain. I've been studying the Elder language from the data Admiral Kim gave us. What if we could speak to it directly? Can you do that from the ship? Han asked. No, the connection isn't strong enough. Someone would need to access the main console in the control center. Han looked at the central column, now surrounded by defensive drones. Cover me, he said to the others. I'm going for the console. Commander Song grabbed his arm. It's suicide, Captain. We don't have a choice. If we don't stop this now, Earth and every other world will be destroyed. Choi, Trell, and Kill spread out, firing at the drones to create a distraction. Song stayed close to Han as they made a run for the central column. A drone fired, hitting Han in the leg. He fell but kept moving, crawling toward the console. Song provided cover fire, keeping the drones back. Han reached the column and pulled himself up. Yoon, I'm at the console. What do I do? There should be an input interface. Place your hand on it. Han put his palm on the glowing surface. The light changed from red to purple. Now repeat exactly what I say, Yoon instructed. She began speaking words in the Elder language. Han repeated them as best he could. The system's lights flickered. Unauthorized command sequence detected, the system announced. It's not working, Han said. Back on the Defiance, Chief Engineer Lee had an idea. Captain, this system is ancient. It's been running the same program for thousands of years. What if we don't try to shut it down? What if we update it instead? Explain, Han said as he ducked to avoid a drone attack. The Elders programmed it to protect their space until they returned. What if we convince it that its purpose can be fulfilled a different way? Han understood immediately. Yoon, I need new words. Tell it that the Elders' wish was for peace, not endless destruction. Yoon provided new phrases, which Han repeated to the system. The lights changed again, this time to a soft blue. Alternative security protocols considered, the system said. Provide evidence of peaceful intent. Han thought quickly. The Defiance. Our ship. We could have attacked this facility, but we came to talk instead. The system was silent for a moment. Then, evidence accepted. Reassessing mission parameters. The drones stopped their attack and returned to the wall panels. Captain, Park's voice came through. The destroyer ships are stopping their attacks throughout the galaxy. Han sighed with relief. But their victory was short-lived. Warning, the system announced. Primary protocols cannot be fully overridden without Elder authorization. Temporary suspension of hostilities granted. Duration 48 hours. Then full security operations will resume. Han looked at his team. 2 days. We have 2 days to find a permanent solution. Or everything we've done was for nothing. Song finished. The door to the control center opened. They could return to the ship, but their mission wasn't over. Somehow, they needed to convince an ancient, stubborn AI to permanently change its ways. And they had less than 48 hours to do it. Back on the Defiance, the crew worked frantically. They had less than 36 hours left before the Elder system would restart its attacks. We can't fight it, Captain Han told his gathered officers. And we can't trick it for long. We need to change its core programming. Science Officer Park shook her head. The security is too strong. We don't have the knowledge to rewrite Elder code. The room fell silent. After coming so far, they were stuck. Communications Officer Yoon, who had been quiet, suddenly spoke up. What if we don't need to change its code? What if we just need to change its understanding? Everyone looked at her. Explain, Han said. The system was created to protect Elder space until they return. But they've been gone for 50,000 years. Yoon moved to the main display. What if we could prove to the system that its creators would want it to protect life, not destroy it? Commander Trell nodded slowly. The Elders left because of a war. Perhaps they would not want more war. Exactly, Yoon said. We need to show the system what its creators truly valued. For the next 24 hours, the combined crew of humans and aliens worked together. They gathered every bit of information about Elder culture from all their databases. They studied their art, their writings, their history. They were peaceful, Park discovered. They only built weapons when they had no choice. Chief Engineer Lee was modifying a data core. If we can download all this information into a format the system can understand, it might accept a new mission, Han finished. With 12 hours left, Han, Song, and Trell returned to the control center. This time, they carried the special data core created by Lee. The system's voice greeted them. Time remaining, 12 hours, 17 minutes. Prepare for resumption of security protocols. Han stepped forward. We wish to provide new information about your creators. The Elders require no explanation. Their directives are clear. But incomplete, Han argued. Your creators left in a hurry. They didn't tell you everything. The system paused. What information do you claim to possess? Han placed the data core on the console. The true history of the Elders. Their values. Their hopes for the future. The system began scanning the core. Images, text, and data flowed across the screens around them. The collective knowledge of 17 species about the ancient Elders. Processing information, the system announced. Analysis will require time. How much time? Song asked nervously. Approximately 11 hours. They had no choice but to wait. The crew of the Defiance took turns resting, while others monitored the system's progress. In the final hour, Han, Song, and all the senior officers gathered on the bridge. The control system had gone silent hours ago. What if it didn't work? Commander Trell asked what everyone was thinking. Han checked the time. We'll know in 5 minutes. Those 5 minutes felt like years. Then, the comm system activated. Analysis complete, the Elder system announced. New directives accepted. Cheers broke out across the bridge. The Elders created this facility to preserve life, the system continued. Destroying civilizations contradicts their core values. New mission: protect and support developing worlds. It worked, Song whispered, tears in her eyes. What will you do now? Han asked the system. Repurpose. Destroyer ships will be converted for peaceful functions. This facility will share Elder knowledge with worthy species. Han looked at his diverse crew, humans and aliens working together. I think we've proven ourselves worthy. The Defiance transmitted the coordinates of the Elder Sphere to the Galactic Concord. Ships from all species arrived to witness the miracle. The destroyer ships, once feared, now helped rebuild the worlds they had damaged. Captain Han and his crew received honors from every world. But the greatest honor came 6 months later, when the Elder system invited representatives from all species to learn at the Sphere, now renamed the Nexus of Understanding. Human Ambassador Kim summed it up best at the ceremony. We came to the stars as newcomers. We were dismissed as primitive. But it was our human way of thinking that found a solution no one else could see. Not through superior weapons, but through understanding and compassion. The UES Defiance remained a symbol of hope. One human ship had indeed ended galactic terror, not through destruction, but by finding a better way.